Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, coming live from Fire Your Heart, children of God. All right, so I have court tomorrow. This was for unlawful use of force by an officer. He immediately flooded on my property on November 9th. No warrant, kind of a ganging up situation with a motorcycle gang. And he came through the neighbor's property. They had cops waiting at the road. It was all planned out for hours. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I was beat up really good. Pissed myself with the tase. I have scars. I had bruises, blood. They proceeded to drug me in the jail. I think it was somewhere around Sunday or Monday. So I know I could barely even function. So whatever they gave me was so messed up. So they knew that. They wanted me to not be able to function to get to the magistrate or hear the court hearings. This is not about me. This is about what I observed, the few people I was able to interact with at the jail at Monroe County, Michigan, and Michigan in general. We did attempt to call police for assistance, but we've technically been harassed by police for upwards of, I know, at least a good almost solid year at Brentwood. They had done a lot of vandalizing setups to kill us. My husband's brake lines, fluids. One point we had where they were blowing, I don't know how they managed to do all this. They would do it when we were gone. Say one day we had the car, it was already, they broke it down so many times. So then we look in the windows or whatever, figure out what we're going to do with the car. Next day we look in the car windows and it's just covered. The entire inside of the vehicle is just covered in mold spores. So therefore then we had to ship the cars off, but and dump them. We had a lot done to us, and it was through retired military, some police, county, all county, roots in the county, connected with the police. They were 100% on what they were doing, how they were setting it up. My medical records were distributed through the neighborhood. We've had excessive amounts of shunning, different methods of abuse. They're actually been quite settled down since this court thing's in the air. So now we have a new court-appointed attorney. What I want to get into here, and because I don't want to keep reiterating this, is I am going to post the part of the police video. They chopped up the entire footage because in part of the footage you would have heard the neighbor threatening to kill my husband, and then the cops that were by the road to haul me off. They switched me over from the cop that nearly killed me over to two more cops to take me to the station, and one took me to the station. They blinded him with the spotlights while the neighbor was threatening to kill him. They cut that off at the end of the video. They cut off the attempted rape at the front of the video. You can hear where the music cuts out. I'm so loud because I had a cop slamming me around and busting my wrists and raping me on the hood of our car in front of a garage while the neighbor was watching through the gap in his glass with a big grin, just watching like fun with a bunch of other men. And that's what the courts protected. So Michigan is fucked. Okay, I stayed in a facility. You're going to say, oh, it was only 100 and some people. There was men and women. We did have co-ed classes, so we were allowed to sometimes talk. Not that we weren't allowed to talk, what I'm saying, we were allowed to exchange information. And I can guarantee you over 90% of the people in that medical facility shouldn't have been there because of the story they told me on how the cops approached them, how the cops attacked them, how the cops overtased them, beat the crap out of them, beat them to a pulp, bloody, bruised, scraped, and then charged with tons of charges to cover the lunatic, psychotic cop that was nearly trying to kill him. I was up in Westland, Michigan, and they were shipping people in from Kalamazoo and switching everyone all around. Girls coming in from Grand Rapids area, Kalamazoo, way north, up in the sticks, past the line, meaning past the Saginaw line. And what that means in Michigan is once you clear Saginaw, you're kind of up in no man's land. Terrified is an understatement. So 1%, I'm going to go with 1%. So they circulate most of ones like me out that needs to be reprogrammed or observed like a fucking specimen and have my blood and poke around on my skin and do whatever they wanted to do in the most regards. And it wasn't all the time because I'm not going to be poked around on, and they know that, is this. So say 1% of the hospital population, they're turning people out every 2 months. Say you got 100 that are being beat. They don't even know why the cops came and harassed them. And they, along with the wonderful government programming, they're willing to say that it was okay because the cop was in uniform or whatever. They're making an excuse to themselves, just begging for some freedom back, meaning like maybe at first if they were homeless, then maybe they don't want to be homeless anymore. So now they're looking at the fucking tyrant that beat the pulp out of them and then gave them a couple more meals and some stripes to sit in and then stick them over at the hospital, that it's better than being on the street because then he gets swooped up again and beat the fuck out of. I waited a month to talk about this. First of all, I wanted to just try to not have anyone's name on my memory so that I don't slip someone's name out. Most of the people that were stuck in there and who had been falsely charged didn't care if I gave their name out because they knew no one was going to help them anyways, and that I was shadow banned and nearly killed too. So who's going to listen to me, right? All right, we're going to get into some costs now. So say they've got 4 of these facilities or 3 functioning in Michigan, their state hospital. Not every single person in the hospital was already had a medical record passed, or whatever you want to call it. And even if they did, they were dragging people's records from like 15, 20 years ago. That's what they're doing with me. And all of that was false documented. And I went into the Social Security office. I talked to them about what happened, because I had taken my Social Security early. I'm like, you guys got to get this stuff situated. I got medical malpractice after medical malpractice. You got the psych ward doctors writing down wrong diagnosis. What are you guys doing? And then you got this Brentwood operation over here. No one's looking into this, how my Social Security, my identity, and my medical records got out. And you're like, well, why would you go to the Social Security office? Well, the police weren't helping. And I call the state and act like a bunch of buffoons. Do you know after this assault, they shifted my civil rights agent or whatever, worker, 3 times? No one would even get back to us to tell us what was going on. And then she wrote me some stupid email saying that I moved my arm so he had a right to do what he did to me. Talked to a guy at the hospital. Well, he was in my class, so he usually when you get there, you're in such shock because you've been tortured at the jail, and we all had a varying degree amount of torture. Some of us were being asphyxiated, some of us were drugged, some of us were beat up some more, some of us were that, some of us were this. Something was wrong with our food. All over the state, similar stories with similar methods. Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Wayne County, Oakland, up in Escoda, and those spots like up there above Saginaw, some near Saginaw. One chick, she said she was just out somewhere. I don't even know. There was people being grabbed up. The old guy, he said he came up to look for an apartment from Ohio. But he said they've been tagging him, so he let me know they've been killing him. They killed his wife. So he's labeled as a dissenter or mischief. They label all of us, all of the activists, anyone that knew what the fuck was going on that was stuck in the hospital. We're all labeled the same thing. A threat to ourselves or a threat to society because we know what the fuck's going on with the government. So believe what you want. See what you want, support what you want. But if you're supporting this violence and this release of the military before we even got the police in order in our local areas. So if that's one hospital, but there's 3 more, we'll say there's 3 more left that are functioning. And you got 100 in each, I don't know, and then there's kids there too. So there was a lawsuit going on the hospital because they're taking these cases and they're acting like they have no power to refute it. When they're labeling people incompetent that aren't incompetent, and they have no ability to refute it or say that they're going to refuse the case because it looks really scary. When you have women coming in that are being raped and assaulted and asphyxiated and drugged, how in the fuck would one girl up in Oakland have the same story as me about putting her in a room, one of the lonely cells somewhere, and having white smoke or whatever, what the fuck they were puffing out of a pipe at us? Who's advising the officers to just beat up people that may have a mental health past? I can't say I never went in and didn't say I was depressed and stuff, but most of the time I was reporting stuff. And when the jails and the police, and then I'm being stalked by the police, and I go to the hospital because I'm having an anxiety attack. This was way back when. This is how all this shit got started. And I'm reporting what I saw, and I have proof of it. If only the right agents would have handled the situations right, but they didn't. Point is that they were willing to fry my brain and reprogram me. That was back in 2013, 2014, somewhere in that range. And so I'm up there, and there's enough people in there to sane, but they got then the other one portion that they fried their brains so much, who knows how they came in there or how they were when they got there. There's that whole element always in hospitals is the experimental group with a real major experiment. They got them drooling and just pacing around. But the ones of us that were coherent, that were labeled incompetent, and that were a harm to society and ourselves, they're just stuck in there. No legal help. Nobody gets back to them. The phone don't work right. And these people aren't following one spit of the Constitution in the medical facility either. Nobody even knows what it is anymore. So I don't know. And when I talk to people that are just like, well, yeah, I mean, the cop almost killed me. It's like, and they really know deep down there's no help. No one's going to help them. Do we want to be cold-hearted pieces of shit and say, oh, that's only 100 and some people up in Westland, and then the other 2 or 3 hospitals, that's only 100 or so of them there too, that shouldn't be there? And then who they cycling out every 2 months, and then who gets stuck in there longer or gets thrown back in jail? They're flip-flopping them around. So even though they stick them in the hospital to do the observing, then a lot of them get flopped back in jail. And I'm not saying everyone there had, were they there on things that maybe they shouldn't have been doing? Probably. There's some that were, but every single story where they said how the cops got called or how they appeared on their property in the whole 9 yards, it's mainly the unlawful use of force is what, I don't give a flying fuck if there's this or that, or if they were charged with possession. What is up with all the violence? Just strutting up into people's properties, and it's not even that. It's like the guys getting beat up. No, they are really fucking up the women. The male cops in Michigan, too many of them, are being really sick with the women. The cops are being sick with the women. And the female cops are being sick with the women. They're being just completely tyrants. I don't know. It's, to me, because of my spiritual beliefs, it's fully demonic. And I have made jokes in the past about our governor drinking blood, but I honestly believe that's the truth. I believe our entire state has been taken over. It's been taken over by some evil entity. And if I were to even sit here and get into how they were breaking us up into more or less like the whites were treated different than the blacks, and then the blacks, and then the brown, and then we were being treated a lot different than that. But then they kind of shifted with me, and I didn't know what was going on because they kind of started really kind of letting up some of their bullshit gaslighting protocols. And I don't put up with the Muslim bullshit. I don't put up with the subservient crap that those girls were pulling, that they work there with their head wraps on. So I don't go along with that crap. You know what I mean? I stand firm. I'm not going to be treated that way. And it was literally like they were promoting discrimination. And then there was double racism and discrimination all around the bend. So when you sit there and say, because I got some brothers and sisters I listen to, and they say they're not racist, but they literally have an issue with white people in general, I guess. I don't know. But I'll tell you this much. That's not what I was seeing in the hospital. There wasn't that many of us whites. But I wondered if any of us, sometimes I wondered if any of them, if all of us were going to be able to get out of there okay. Oh, now she's making that up. No, I'm not. So, I don't know. So, it was really fucked up. And they were doing like, I think they had shifted my one class, but it appears they were trying to do some kind of, like, I was going to need to get a good dose of white shame on my shoulders before I left there, and that maybe if I had just done A, B, and C right, I wouldn't have almost been killed on my property. Did I just say that? Yeah, I just said that. They wanted us up in that hospital taking responsibility for the police nearly killing us. And there's not one woman in there that was not roughed around and raped, dry raped, whatever you want to call it. There was not one of us in there. And the ones that cycled out before them, and if they left right when I got in there, and then there are ones that come after us. So here, there's the ones coming into the hospital when I'm leaving, and I want to talk about that. She said she was from Chicago. I said, what the fuck are you doing up here? She says, I don't know. I went to a rally. Everything was fine. Next thing I know, I'm being swooped up, and now I'm up here. Or she came up to Michigan for something and couldn't get home. I don't know. The story was so fucking scary, and she wasn't the only one like that. And then once again, you can say, oh, well, it's not thousands and thousands of people at once. Well, we don't know what storefronts they're posing this shit over. They're poisoning them in there. They're sterilizing them in there. I'm sure I was sterilized, and they wanted to probably make sure I couldn't pop out what, like, if I'm be 51, I would be a retard, I guess. I'd pop out a retard. With what I've been through is, because me and John are both half retarded, so I guess it would be a full retard, is super smart and half retard. I don't know what that makes. Super smart in some areas, but it didn't seem to really apply or help us in these situations. Is, I don't know, that's just how I look at things. So how they can do it any which way they want. It doesn't have to be the methods they're using up here. Each state can have their own methods for clearing people out. One girl, she was waiting for a pharmacy to be filled in Grand Rapids. She called her friend and said, can someone come help me? I filled out for my pharmacy thing. She was sick with like a pneumonia. And the pharmacist said, I'm not giving you your medicine. She goes, I paid for my medicine. I've got pneumonia. She's homeless, so she's probably on government aid. And I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying she probably had it covered if she paid or however it went down. Maybe she's lying to me. But why would she lie to me and say even she didn't pay? Okay, let's just do the devil's advocate because everyone's heads are fucked up. Say she didn't pay for the pharmacist thing. Say she didn't pay for it. Say she was doing a stand down. I want my medicine. I need my antibiotic for the pneumonia or whatever. The cop comes. She calls her friend. This is supposedly the friend's boyfriend or ex-boyfriend. I mean, this is insane to me. He comes and then maybe with another cop and they fucking smash her nose up into her face and slam her all around her and beat her all up and she had blood everywhere. And because the pharmacist said that she was stalking the property and threatening him and she didn't do anything of the sort. I said, well, you're standing your ground, right? You're going to go to trial. She goes, oh no, because they tortured me in jail too, and they did this, and this, and this, and then I said I'd be more than happy to take a plea bargain, but then they didn't even want to give me the plea bargain, so then they like threw her back on the street, and then she just like turned herself in because she didn't want to be on the street. I mean, you guys, I can't, I just, Not the only story. Why is your camera a big black hole? Well, you know what? Because that's what I was seeing. So, I didn't see any procedures that made any sense whatsoever. They show make us watch videos to force us to take responsibility for something we didn't do. I mean, it's just plain and simple. Being forced on a third level. So if you got arrested, then you're already in the court system, but you were beaten, abused by the cops, property violated, no warrants, trespassing by the cops, and then you're flopped around, drugged, beaten up some more, whatever, overtased. I don't meet one person that wasn't overtased. Most of us had scars. You guys, I don't know. So there's a lot going on under your nose. So where's Whitmer in all this? Where is everyone? What are they doing? Are you guys drinking my blood up there? I certainly gave you enough this time, didn't I? Would this hold you guys over for another 7 to 10 years, you sick fuckers? So we got these weird third levels, then they get in the hospital, then they're just happy to just have a little more comfort, a regular shower, at least a bed, not a cot on the ground or whatever the conditions were at what jail they were on. Or just on the cement, because a lot of us were thrown on the cement for a week or more at one point again, just to give us a good lesson. Some longer. So, and whatever they were doing to the guys at jail, they said, well, I'd rather be here. So, if that gives you any idea. And these weren't little pussy winks, but they were beaten down because of the bullshit where some of us forced to take something we don't want to take or whatever. And if you don't go along with the procedure, they'll just keep you at the hospital longer, which is pretty much normal protocol. But if a person's coming in there and they never had a mental health pass because there was something like that, and they're just holding them there to get over $60,000 a head, over $60,000 a head or a day, it's almost $2,000 a day room and board for each patient. Yes, and if you don't believe me, I just answered myself like that. I will get my paperwork and I will show you the amount. Just say $2,000 a day for each patient at that hospital. That is the amount of money. Your money is going to torturing your fellow human beings in Michigan. A small population, there's several other arenas that they can abuse us in. This is just the start. This isn't going to stop. But like I said, I did get jumped around there. On the youth floor, there were some lawsuits out on the doctors for this bullshit, whatever's going on at that hospital. And there was more than one of us. There certainly would be enough complaints on that level, but like I said, some of the stuff shifted because there was another activist type lady in there with me and one other that kind of knew morals and ethics, and she was fighting her case in Grand Rapids. But do you know that there was only a few of us that were still trying to stand our ground with a trial or proper understanding of what to do here to at least get the charges dropped or get this looked at, no matter what we had to do or how long we had to stay locked up or how long this goes on? There was only a few of us. The rest were willing to surrender because they're so scared. And they don't believe there's any hope because they look and see what's going on and they just know they ain't going to get help because it wasn't the first time they were harassed by the police. I don't think it's okay for men to get beat up by cops, but for me, I'm very sorry. I don't want to ever see no one get beat by the cops. Unlawful force is unlawful force. I had plenty of friends that had unlawful force, and they never should have. There was no reason for it. So what I was trying to, let's go back to the Grand Rapids girl. So when she's waiting for her pharmacy, but she's not attacking the cop, and he's using unlawful force on her, and abuse continues all the way to the jail, can someone explain to me what's going on? And that then the pharmacist won't even drop any of that. And then, this is going on long enough. Some of us, it was upwards of a year. Some people had something that had been going on longer. And they would just nod their heads and say, I don't know what's going on. Nobody will get a hold of me. That's a hostage situation. Like if they're trying to call a lawyer or they're trying to get help, nobody gets back to them. They can't get a hold of no one. Nobody can get a hold of them. Or it's very, very... And actually the social workers, that was part of their job, is to help people. They don't give people resources to look for an alternative housing from the hospital. You're just stuck there. We don't have a computer. We can't do a search. We can't look up nothing. We have no resources unless we have one connect outside. And if they know the person's already isolated or they were homeless or there was another issue going on, then they can just keep them trapped there and nobody can rescue them. Sometimes we'd answer the phone in the hallway to make sure we catch someone's call. And I had other family members ask me about the patient they were calling, and this would happen to some of us, and say, are they okay? We haven't heard from them in this many days. What's going on? And they're like, we've tried to call the hospital and no one gets back to us. We can't get to our relative. Are you hearing me? 60 days, 80 days, a year, hit and miss communication, hospitals not getting back to people about a family member? They did it to my husband too. For I think it was upwards of over a week or more. And that was when they were pulling a couple stunts with me. They were going to try to pull some fast ones. Well, more than 2 fast ones, but it's all provocation. They have to get you to attack. They needed to prove that I was an attacker. And then the more they had someone else attack me, I don't know, I'm not saying it was set up, but the one girl attacked me, another girl charged me at my room and was going to come in and get me in my room. I had to barricade my own room door with my body. And there was some other couple other instant verbal threats for no reason. It's just people have demons. Sometimes they have demons in hospitals. Not every single one of the girls, but it's a bad environment. What's going on, guys? What's going on? Did you prove anything to yourself? Okay, so we have to go over the competency report. The whole first part of the report is a full blasphemous lies from Satan. And so I hope someone fixed their paperwork there from the forensic center near Celine that was sick. We walked in there very professional. We gave you a flash drive. I guess you refused to watch the flash drive. And then just write a bunch of blibber blabber down with Iker. Or however it's coordinated. I know you're all friends. Okay, so now a bunch of judges are being looked at, but the thing is that there's so many bad judges in Michigan that they've let the crookedness and the cops go on because there's breeding going on with some of the jails and the hospitals. So yeah, full-out breeding situation protected by the government in Michigan. So I just wanted to get everyone's heads up today what's going on in Michigan. I could give several more testimonies of what was being done to people. So I know we all like our gore, but let's just say it's gore. It's a form of gore, and it's sick, it's demented, it's torture. It's cruel and unusual punishment. It's an unlawful use of force, but it's to an extreme extent. It's the enjoyment of torturing women, and that's going on in the state of Michigan with too many cops. Too many. We'll just say too many. All right. Have a great day.